So, brothers, the very first question is, why was it so important to only date black women?
For me, I love myself. And so, I had just come to the conclusion one day, just, when you think about the society as a whole, when you love yourself, you want to be with someone that mirrors yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And you want your children to reflect you, and not just internally or culturally and psychologically, but even physically. I love the way I look, when I look in the mirror, and so for me to have seeds that look like me, I should be with a woman that looks like me, and I actually love it. It's not like, it's not just principle, but it's also something that, means a lot to me. That, so for me, that's why it was important for me to be with a black woman. But on top of that, my mother gave me a good example of what a black woman is, and so, recognizing that example, I'm not tainted with any, crazy ideas of what black women are. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I see how certain ideas can be pushed, and then, I can compare that with my mom and say, it doesn't really...
It doesn't fit, doesn't match up.
Fit. So, really my mom is like, the best example of black womanhood I've ever seen. And so, I base my decisions on that.
I like that, because a lot of black people specifically have mommy issues. And I've actually heard that I might be moving ahead of it, but I've actually heard black men say that it's one of the reasons why they don't want to date black women anymore, because of what they've seen their mom do, or how she acted and how she portrayed. So that's really good. That's very interesting and really good to hear.
Okay.
Any one of you want to answer?
Yeah. It is a form of like self-realization. You know what I'm saying? You kind of realize that, black women are ultimate of the half. Like it's like just the other half of what you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then just everything else. It's just even like the social connections we have, just the way black women look. You know what I mean? Like they really compliment us. You know what I mean? If you really think about it, like, just the essence of black women, the way like, there's a certain energy that they give off, you know what I mean, that you're not going to get from nobody else. Like, nothing is like a black woman, like, period. You know what I mean? So, whatever issues that I have went through, it's just never going to really affect it to the point where I'm like, oh, no, black woman, that's ridiculous. And to me, you know what I mean? Because, you may have some bad experiences, but ultimately, your best experiences is going to be what, you know what I mean, the other half of yourself. You know what I mean? It's the female half of us. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just all that, just like the social and then the dynamic and the, just black women just look, it's the epitome of beauty. You know what I mean? And, so that's pretty much my aspect on it.
Okay.
For me personally, it had a lot to do with a couple things. For one, what he said, loving yourself. Just put yourself in a position where you're in a relationship with somebody else. They can never fully relate to everything that you deal with.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When you go out there and let's use the typical, the police pulls you over, or they can't feel the same way you feel, because these things are not common
right
with them. You understand? Like, so there was that aspect, and then I have people in my family that are mixed. And there's always this identity crisis thing going on. They don't know exactly where they fit or where they belong. And like, for instance, I have cousins that are half Mexican, half black, and they're darker. So their Mexican family is looking at them like, you're only black. So they have to deal with all of these different things. I never wanted to raise my children with these type of issues, on top of the issues that we already deal with.
Right.
So there's that aspect. And then, to be honest with you, I'm with him on the black women are the epitome of they are what beauty is. Okay. To me. So.
All right. Well, that's good. All right, brother. So the next question is, try to keep it PG. Try to keep it PG as much as possible. What turns you on about a black woman? That's why I said keep it PG as much.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, really. The way they look, the way they move. Really, that's the main thing that gets me. Even
Oh,
when
how we move?
they just move differently. You know, you can't even. Sometimes you can't describe it. You know, I just see a black woman, and I just be like. I can't even, you know, you're telling me to keep it PG, but it's just like the way they move differently. I mean, you know, I interact, but I interact with a lot of different people every day. You understand what I'm saying? But there's a visceral reaction. There's a reaction there that I don't have with other people. You know? So, you know, that's one of the things. But you know, they're really unique. Black women are just unique. You know, they're different. They look different. They talk different. They smell different. They move different. And I know how other people smell because I have to deal with them in the workplace. You know, it's true. You know, I mean, they come leaning over you, asking you, "Oh, well, can you edit this and this and that?" I'm like, man, you know, can you just like, you know, yeah, real talk. So, you know, it's just it's a whole different vibe that black women have, and so, you know, they're just beautiful to me.
Okay, Ram, what turns you on about a black woman?
Well, you know,
Come on, you should say something.
It's just a very...
Listen, if it's too bad, I'll edit it out.
Okay. There's a very distinct, like I was talking about the essence earlier that black women have, like, and just like, there's even with different way that black women touch you, just certain things that they understand about black men. You know what I mean? And just, you know, I mean, all the different types of black women, the features and everything, just like, I mean, it's indescribable to a great extent. You know what I mean? Besides the fact that, you know, of course you got most sisters with certain types of body frames and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I mean, just like at the end of the day, like, just like, it's just, they just got it. They got that thing that is just it's just that powerful, that other half of your power that makes you go, wow, like it really just enhances you. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, just when you especially you find when y'all got that same like understanding, like sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Just with conversation or personality where y'all really got that that just quadruples it. You know what I mean? Where you're like, wow, now I'm really like, it's just like everything else is now coming into play. It just comes in full circle 360. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know, again, that's it.
Well, for me, it's the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they dance. Every aspect of a black woman, and I think most of all, the mental aspect. But I can't get that from anybody else because they're not going to understand me. They don't understand music the way I understand music. They don't understand my struggle the way other people will understand it or try to understand because they never can, because they never meet. And you know, just back to what we said before, I love myself, so you know, I'm gonna love everything about that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's important too. Obviously, you know, intellectually, you know, psychologically, like you said, there's a relation there. You know what I mean? There's a commonality there that doesn't exist anywhere else. You know, so even after the initial attraction, which is physical attraction, there's more to it. But even with the physical, like I said, it's something that draws you, you know, to black women. Even non-black men, they already know what's up. You know, you see that all the time. You know, so
like this energy, this,
right? The difference
the way
is, I see it. You understand what I'm saying? I see this. Whatever it is that they think they see, I see it.
Yes, we see double time. That's our match.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We see
Right.
double time.
Exactly.
It's like here and there.
So,
you was just there. It's here and there for us.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, you actually brought that up, what you just said about other races of men or ethnic groups noticing about black women. As a black woman, it seems that they just look but never come over or never touch, in my opinion or in my experience. So what made you say that you even see it with like other ethnic groups?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Like, you know, a lot of times, even in social media or whatever, even if you watch people in interviews on talk shows, they talk about how, you know, well, he just was attracted to me, and he tells me I'm beautiful, and he makes me feel this certain type of way, and all of that. These are things that I do, you know, to black women all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's natural to me. So whatever they're seeing in black women, I see the same exact thing, but I see it, like he said, double fold. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, I just said that to say that it's a valid feeling. It's something that can be verified across the board. It's not just something that I'm sitting here saying. You understand what I'm saying?
I see.
So that's all.
Okay.
I think along with what he's saying, there's always intimidation and power. And one of the stereotypes about black women is that they're intimidated. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And for anything to be a stereotype, there has to be an agreement across the board. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we talk about when that thing we see. We just not intimidated by it.
Well, all right.
And honestly, only recently, like you were saying before, recently a lot of non-black men have been approaching more and more black women. But I think this is has a lot to do with how black men are being viewed by black women and how a lot of black men are doing. You know what I mean? How, if you go on the internet, you see all types of, black men, like, well, if you want to call them that, but they talk so bad about black women. You got some people saying the craziest things you couldn't even imagine about how black women look and this, that, and the third. And it really, I think it lets other ethnicities know, like, oh, okay, wow, that now that you can see that their guard is let down, black women's guard, because before, black men it was pretty obvious that black men still adore black women. Now it's kind of like this, and the media doesn't help, pushing that, making it seem like black men don't want black women. You know what I mean? So then it makes non-black men feel like, oh, I mean, I can approach her because now she feels alone or she feels abandoned. Now I have more of a chance.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? Because, like, honestly, like, they know to a great extent, like, you can never really compare to a black man, especially to a black woman. You know what I mean? So it only would take a time like this where things are really exaggerated, and even, there's a lot of truth to it too, where a lot of black males kind of like their minds have been warped to kind of talk about black women a certain kind of way.
So it's giving them courage to actually
you see that courage a lot of
times. They've always wanted to. Look at the way that they look. If you look back in time, you see they used to wear those dresses and stuff where the butt was kind of pumped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at those things, or the museums and stuff where they actually had black women in. They had black women in zoos. So why would you have something in zoo to look at it? You've always wanted that.
And then if you look at it on a like you said, a historic scale and on a global scale, because we tend to put things in the context of America, but globally, it's recorded that non-black men, white men, Arab men have gone into black populations like Africa or whatever to have access to black women. Now, whether it's obviously for the most part exploitive access, you know what I mean? They want to exploit them sexually or whatever, but they're not running to Europe to try to have access to white women. You understand what I'm saying? They're leaving Europe to have access to young black women in Africa who are probably economically disadvantaged, so they can use their position to have access to black women. I mean, this thing is recorded all across, in Africa and wherever there's black populations. There are men who pay thousands of dollars to fly across the globe so they can have access to black women, And so this thing is real, even at times during when we were being colonized and subjugated and enslaved or whatever, they didn't waste no time trying to rape black women. They wanted access to black women. So it hasn't stopped, is what I'm saying. And so there's this idea that they're not attracted to black women. Everyone is attracted to black women. Everyone is. And so now whether you can be programmed to dislike it or to hate it, that's one thing. But for the most part, they're attracted to black women. Now, you talked about them being scared to approach them. There is a new thing going on. Like I remember maybe a year or two back, there was an episode of the Toni Braxton sisters where they went to Europe or something. They went on some trip, and this white dude just walked up and grabbed one of them on the butt, like it was nothing, and they were just, oh my gosh, did you see? Yeah, research it. That episode really happened, So, he just walked up and grabbed her on the butt like it was nothing. And so, and the reaction was crazy because the sisters were more like, why he didn't grab me or something like that, which was a little weird, but my whole point is it just that the attraction is there. Or even if there was a Beyonce incident where she was on stage, white dude reached up and grabbed her butt, right? This is Beyonce. This is somebody who's a megastar, world megastar. She got a husband who's supposed to be hardcore. You don't do things like that unless you bold. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. He also felt like he could get away with it.
He felt like he can get away with it. I mean, he did, right? I mean,
is that part of the privilege, though?
Well, there's some privilege there, but my whole point is that there is a shift, I guess, in the boldness of, but
the approach.
Yeah,
They
and
didn't
you
feel
know
like
what?
they could get away with that a while ago. Like a lot of white used to feel
I
like they
see.
could even talk
Right.
to black men.
Right.
And they couldn't. A lot of them
Right.
couldn't. Like
Yeah, a lot
black
of
person would be
them-
like, "Oh, please," like
Right.
that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So they've been emboldened by a lot of stuff that's been going on in the media or whatnot. But what I would say also is that even that shouldn't be looked at in a positive way, because that's a violation of personal space.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just like in terms of, like I said, they would go to Africa and rape black women. You understand what I'm saying? Even today, you know, you can just research the United Nations peacekeepers raping black women and leaving just all of these babies there. They go over there as peacekeepers. They're not keeping the peace. They rape a lot of young black women who have no money or whatever. So these men look like someone who can offer them something a lot of times. So, you know, the scenarios where these things can happen are they're not regular scenarios. These aren't women who are well off financially,
right,
or have food to eat for tomorrow. So, you know, something that under normal circumstances they would be able to avoid. But these are circumstances where there's people who come in positions of power with some type of authority, with some type of resources, and they come to exploit these women, and then they leave all of these babies behind and go back to Europe, you know, and then take trips back and forth. I mean, you got white men, even just, you know, that go to Thailand or whatever to find, you know, other women to dominate. But for the most part, you can actually do research of historically and presently that people are, you know, they want access to black women. And so, you know, this is something, like I said, that I see, you know, I have that same attraction to black women, but it's a respectful attraction as opposed to a violation. You understand what I'm saying?
You know what's funny about what you're saying? It was a 16-year-old. He said it like this. He said, he said, due to like the Ronald Reagan era and the whole welfare queen situation, that's the way that the other races look at us. So when they see black men can't take care of their woman, etc., when a white man comes or the Asian or whoever comes down to the ghetto to be with a black woman, it's not because they actually love them. It seems like it's easier. It takes less. Your man can't take care of you, I can take care of you. Your man is not saying you're beautiful, etc., because he's struggling, he's going through his thing. So now I could come and take advantage of the situation. So even when that becomes their wife, etc., it's easy. It's more about it being easy rather than actually being loved.
Okay. So do you think there is an agenda via Hollywood and social media to push interracial dating?
I would say there's definitely an agenda, especially in the media. For the most part, like if you look at the relationships that they push in the movies, they always have a black man with a non-black woman. Even a lot of Tyler Perry movies, you know, they try to
with Will Smith and
that was they were hard with that.
You know, and you know, even not just relationship wise, but just the black male saving a white woman or something. Denzel has saved so many white women, and I like Denzel. right. He's just wow, the little white girl. I mean, all of these movies, you know, they push the black man with the non-black woman. And the cool part about it is, you know, when you look at the statistics, it's not really statistically sound to promote that, you know. So it's being pushed, you know. It's not like it's a reflection of reality. Art is not imitating life. What you have is an art form trying to influence life, you know what I mean, so that we can follow this art. You understand what I'm saying? So it's really deep, and recently they've been trying to push it on the black woman. You know, if you look at certain television shows like Lincoln Heights or like you said, Scandal, or what other shows? The Princess and the Frog. All of these type of things have been made to push a multiracial or interracial for black relationships
Specifically.
right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at the you know, you look at the other images of other races, they keep them in pairs, you know. And so it's definitely out there.
You think it's underlying that they're trying to figure out a way to get rid of our race?
Yeah, well, yeah, and you know what? It's funny because there's a concept in our community that, you know, black is dominant and black cannot be bred out.
It's not true. They done it in Australia.
Yeah, they did it in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Rabbit Proof
Yeah.
Fence, you know, there's a movie called Rabbit Proof Fence where they describe how, you know, after a generation or two,
After three generations,
it's gone. You know, the blackness is gone, and so, you know, this whole idea that, you know, people take genetic dominance and take it to mean genetic
immortality.
Yeah, exactly. Like it cannot be destroyed. Like indestructible genes. It's not indestructible.
Right.
It's just dominant, which means, you know, you put these two together. Yeah, this one will show up more. But if you keep adding something else to it, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna fall from what it once was. And this is another thing.
Can I add on to something he said earlier?
Okay.
He was talking about them basically destroying the black family unit, because when blacks at home get together, then we start interacting with our brothers and stuff a little better. Then we start thinking about what can we build, etc. We have evidence of that. You've seen it in, I mean, you could go as far as back as ancient Kemet, what people call Egypt. You know what I mean? And how we interacted with each other and the things that we did. They still can't figure those pyramids out today.
Right.
You could go back to the Garveyite movement, and you see all of these black proud people funding this man. I think he had over 20,000
million. It was like 10 million followers.
It was
10 million members of
funding.
Oh, yeah.
Funding his movement. I think he had like 20,000 people funding his movement in a time where you have no social media, etc. You have he got 65,000 people to come out to the Madison Square Garden based on adding up all the nights together. I think he did a 3-night thing, filled up Madison Square Garden each time. And then from there, they all put their funding together and start building things. They put together they got the Black Star Line, etc. You see it with look at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's look at Black Wall Street. Let's look at all these different things we've done. When we get together, we work best as a collective. And if you destroy the home, then you could destroy the rest.
You destroy the black family, then what do you have?
You know, ultimately, you destroy the way each one looks at each other, too. You know what I mean? It's like they've been doing things with certain black male actors too. You know, one of the most revered black male actors, in Hollywood is Morris Chestnut, and sisters love him, right? You know what I mean? So, but then he's got this new, you know, he's been the one brother that was kind of like
in everything.
He's got a new TV show called Rosewood, and if you go like in certain neighborhoods, they have a picture of him right there, and it's got this like, she's like a Spanish girl that he flirts with and tries to get with, and it's like they just keep enhancing that, like pushing that, like, no, he wants her. So you know what I mean? You need to figure something else out. You know what I mean? If we were talking about the TV show, what was it called, Black Love or something? They called it. They had a TV show called Black Love, but it had a bunch of. It was interviewing nothing but black males who said, "No, I like dating out of my race because this, that, and the third." They couldn't find no brothers.
That's black,
right? But like they could. But all the sisters were saying, you know, they want black men, but it's like they were acting like they just could not find no brothers who was like, you know, I like black women, like, you know, this, that, and the third, you know, and that's gotta be, you know, by design. And he's like, you know, you got some brothers who would even say like, well, you know, I'm like dated, I'm married black woman at the very least. You know, I think that's a lot more brothers like that. But they made sure they found brothers who was like, nah, I like that, I'm already. I don't like you.
They found him Tommy Sotomayor.
Right.
You know, well, and I just want to address another thing about that whole interracial thing, or just the one drop of black blood idea, you know, makes you black. And, you know, that was an idea that was created by people who weren't black. You know, they came up with that theory, and we just took it and run with it. Like, we take everything from them and run with it. Like it was a dictation from God. Like, oh, you know, this is law. This is what it is. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, it's not true. You know, this is the thing. And, you know, we can argue about genetics, about, you know, blackness being dominant. You know, it is dominant, but it's not invincible. You understand what I'm saying? But what I will say is that even if you just put the genetics to the side, if we honestly believe black people are beautiful, wouldn't we want to see more black people
Yeah.
looking like black people?
Yeah.
So the
Source.
more you mix with something that is not black, or that they don't look like black people, obviously, then you fall away from black beauty. So if you believe in black beauty, why would you want to water it down? So just a step in genetics aside for a second, because a lot of times people want to say it doesn't matter what it is, they're still black. Okay, fine, but are they black beautiful? You know what I mean? Are they beautiful black people exhibiting black beauty as we know it? You understand what I'm saying? Because black beauty is not Paris Hilton. You know what I mean? That's not black beauty. That's something else, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
right. So the more you get towards that, then you don't have black beauty anymore.
Right. Okay.
Right. And so that's one of the things that I try to get people to realize. You know, even if you accept people who are mixed as black, which is fine. But the further you mix away from black, you fall away from that beauty that we all say we love, right?
Also, I'm sorry, real quick. I think a lot of black people also confuse shades with genotype.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We come in all shades.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, we
yeah.
come in all shades, but we don't come in all genotypes. You know what I mean? It's one genotype of black people. It's a collective of different looks.
Right.
But there's overall there's a certain look to a black person that makes the genetic code of a black person. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, you see like a white person walking down the street or an Asian person, you go, oh, we come in all shades. They black. Like, none of this. Because there's another black person. There's another black person who's just the same shade or might be close to their shade. It's frivolous.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like, you know, it's funny because the same people who will say, you know, well, blackness, you know, is everything. You know, it's in all colors and they have all different hair types. But then they'll, you know, use ancient statues that are found and say, that's a black person. Well, if that's the case, you're basically telling us that we do have a specific look to us. Because that's how you point to the statue and say, that's of a black person. So then when we have this conversation about interracial, it just all falls apart. And you say, well, everybody, you know, we have all shades. We have all, you know, shapes to our face and textures to our hair. If that's the case, then what is black? If everyone is black, no one is black.
But even in that though,
If everybody's black, nobody's black. You know, what's the whole point in even saying you're black or loving being black if you believe everyone is black? You know what I mean? So, you know,
Who was saying that?
these are the people, when you get into a conversation with someone about whether or not they should date outside of their race or date with other people, they'll say things like, well, they come from us anyways, right?
it's based
Oh,
off
or-
Darwinism.
Yeah.
It's based off Darwinism, the out of Africa theory. It's a lot of people that believe that, you know, the first person was in Africa, etc. That part, true, right? But when you get to dealing with, I guess you could say, types of humans, you know, Homo sapiens isn't the only type of human that was here. You have, I believe they're called the descendants, you have Neanderthals, you have etc. You can't find no links between them and the humanoids that were in Africa. So you can't say that this person is just African or of African descent or what we call black just because they have a darker shade. Or, you know what I mean?
And that's what,
So
when you said,
gotta
you know,
get into.
who said, you know, everyone is black, I was basically bouncing off of something that he was saying when he said that, you know, you can't confuse shade with genotype, phenotype. So what happens is when I say, you know, someone is black and they say, well, I'm not black, I'm yellow, or she, you know, she's pale, but she's still a black person, which is true. You know, what I'm saying is if paleness is also black, then they will use that as an argument to envelope other races into blackness. I've seen people do it.
I think people gotta do this. They gotta understand that black is more symbolic than anything.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because you gotta understand the characteristics of black, how black deals with the sun, etc. How black and chlorophyll basically the same thing. How it attracts that energy, etc. How it uses that energy, utilizes that energy, and all the rest of these different things. And that's I think has a lot to do with why our people, not just the color, because there's some people that's black too. You know what I mean? And further back you go, and you look, the
That
darker we
actually
were.
black.
You know what I mean?
Right. Pure, rich, dark, yeah.
But it's we are the way that our skin absorbs the light and utilizes for vitamins and etc. I think that it has a lot to do with the symbology as well.
And even behaviorally, or even with our abilities, you know, you look around and you see what black people can do, you know, even with, under the conditions that we're under, even with media attacks, even with other things that are in our communities that are destroying us. The things that we're able to do, you don't see other people doing it. You know, some of the things I like to point out is how we just create from scratch, how we come with different things or different moves, dance moves, whatever, and then other people can imitate those things, but it doesn't mean they originate them like we do, you know. So there is something to blackness that makes it special, that makes it different, you know, that, you know, that isn't just related to skin tone. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's something to our blackness. That's why. That's just to bounce off of what he said when he said that blackness is symbolic. It symbolizes what Michael Jordan can do when he jumps up and does a 360 with his eyes closed behind the back dunk. And, you know, Dirk Nowitzki is not doing that. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, so I don't, even when you know, you look at other people as well, I don't know any Mexicans that can do that neither. So these are things that blackness is capable of, and, you know, and it's yeah, so blackness is symbolic. It's not necessarily you have to look this specific way. You understand what I'm saying? But there are some things to blackness that obviously makes us recognize these statues as black statues.
Speaking of the statues, another thing that's a trait that distincts us from other ethnicities and whatnot is our art. Even in the condition we're in, if you just type in black love on the internet, there's tons of black love, black men, black women paintings. Just, you know, just the beauty, showing the beauty of us together. You know what I mean? And just like, you know whatever it is. If it's making love, or it's just at a dinner table, or it's just a hug, or it's on the basketball court, black man, black woman, whatever. It's like, it's just very powerful that we still have been able to maintain that, even with all we've done. It doesn't even make any sense, really. If you think about it, after all that we've been through in this age of so much heavy propaganda and television, that we still are able to maintain some type of understanding, like, yeah, but I know.
And in a wholesome way, too.
Right,
you know,
right,
look
right.
at that art, it's beautiful art. So,
Okay. All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of things, my brothers.
You look directly at me.
Come on. Okay, so it sounds like you guys are very passionate about dating black women. So that actually brings me to the question of, have you guys ever dated outside your race? And if so, how does it compare to dating black women? Because you guys are very passionate about making sure that the black family stays together. So,
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know?
I wouldn't know. I only dated black women.
Okay, all right.
good brother.
Yes.
Had to represent.
All right.
Bless.
I'm assuming.
You know, not something I really like to get deep into. You know?
Okay.
But you know, yeah, you know, but I do. We was talking about propaganda, right? And quiet as kept. There seems to be some kind of like a twisted culture. It's kind of like, maybe a strong word, whatever, but where it's kind of like understood amongst black men when you grow up that you're supposed to like be with all types of different ethnicities. You're supposed to show.
Elaborate on that.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, when you the black man, you know, you got to show, you know what I mean? You got to go out there, you know what I mean?
Like,
and
so
put it down, go in there and show
everybody.
them. You're going to show them that the black man is doing with the, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you kind of like are kind of directed that way. And like, as I grew up, I started begin to understand. I was like, you know, hold on, like, you begin to understand that, you know, I never really liked non-black women. I just kind of thought that was something I was supposed to be doing. You know, when you get the television, you had all of that stuff pushing that on you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like there's so much emphasis on the black male, you know, phallus, that you begin to see that as your worth. You know, like that's all I, you know what I'm saying? So I can do all the, you know, different types of females, you know, but, you know, I look back now, it's kind of like, you know, I just wish I never really was influenced by that. But at least I'm like glad I can talk to brothers who have or whatever, and I can be like, listen, man, it's a great chance that you don't even really want to do that, champ. You know what I mean? So you most likely going down the road, there might be a small percentage of black people or non-black people who may like something other than their race, but never not like their own race. That's impossible. You know what I mean? But this thing we're seeing where all these brothers going out their way and this, that, and third, or they're talking about, you know what I mean? But to a great extent, the collective of black people, like, our natural mindset is to want to be with our own. You know what I mean? And I think that, you know, nothing compares to black women. Like, it's just like, I'm looking back like, damn, I could have been with a black woman. You know what I'm saying?
So
like,
you do feel like you were influenced?
Oh,
by media?
Most definitely. By media and, society, and other brothers who were influenced by media as well.
I see. Okay.
You know what I mean?
It kind of bounces off.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Because I remember in high school, when they used to be like, oh man, the white girls, this and that, they do this and that, things that they'll do, and they'll do everybody,
And real quick, also, like, I'm not trying to say, well, some sisters, but, sometimes, you kind of grow up, you kind of see a lot of sisters, for some, not a lot, but some, maybe a little rigid for whatever they're going through, because they're going through what we're going through as women. So, sometimes there's a little conflict there. You be like, well, she being mean or whatever, so you might, you know what I mean? And the other ones are trying to, like, outdo black women to a great extent. So they're doing a bunch of extra stuff trying to...
Oh, I see.
You know
That's
what I mean?
Competition.
It's not, there is no competition. What I'm saying is they're trying to outdo black women, like, it's just like the non-black men. You know what I mean? They try to, do the extra stuff because they see we're having conflict.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't say infiltration, but, I know they see.
To a certain degree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on.
Can
Sure,
I?
absolutely.
I mean, I haven't dated outside my race personally, but I know people who do date outside their race, especially in this generation now, the generation right under me. I feel like they're a lot of their motivation for dating outside of their race really has to do with it really has to do with one is the lack of identity. You know what I mean? Lack of love for self. But I think the biggest thing is, the media and everything having an impact on how we look at black women. When you got Housewives of Atlanta and what is it? Hip hop, Love and Hip Hop, and you see how ratchet these people are, who are supposed to be, I guess you could say, you would assume they would be dignified because they have some type of funds. You know what I mean? It automatically starts to distort your view of black women as a child, and you grow up with that. You know what I mean? Then you go to these parties and stuff with these young women who are trying to mimic that. So now people like, I have plenty of people in my family who don't date black women. And it has a lot to do with that, this distorted view of what black women are. But it's on both sides of the field. A lot of black women don't know who they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? But I feel like as black men, it's up to us to acknowledge these issues and approach them with the knowledge of that and help them find out who they are, so we can help each other find out who we are.
And it definitely gets passed on outside of the media, just within the family. I remember when I was young, my uncle used to tell me, get you a Mexican girl, man, they're real loyal. That's what he would say, And, fortunately I didn't fall for his idea, because he really used to push that. And this is an uncle that I used to look up to, that he would give me money when I see him, and, we'd go work together or whatever, and so he would push these ideas. He's had babies by, I don't know, about 7 women, but the first 2 were black women, but all of the rest of them were Mexican women. So if you look at his relationship, you would say, well, maybe he knows what he's talking about, because, he's been with everybody, and look who he's with now. But today, his woman left him, for some younger man, and left him with the kids and everything. So that loyalty that he was just so talking about, it didn't work out too well for him, So the ideas are definitely pushed on young black men,
Family and media.
And family, media, in the schools, you like I said, you associate with other young men, and the idea is, it's something. It's a trippy thing, but it's something with dudes of all races, really, that find some type of pleasure in slutting out the women of other races. Especially white men. I think they started that. They like this idea of dominating the women of another race. And so that type of thing gets passed on. It's weird. It's a trip. It's not really vocalized that way, but it's acted out. It's
a power struggle. It's a power struggle when you can take the prized possession of another man, then you've defeated that man. And I feel that's exactly what's occurred with black people.
When you know what, that brings me to me and you. We were talking about that dude Eldridge Cleaver, right?
Dang. Oh,
right.
Wow.
This dude was in the Black Panthers. He was made Minister of Information in a very prominent organization of the Civil Rights Movement. But if you go into his book called Soul on Ice, he talked about about how when he looked at black women, he was looking at slavery. When he looked at white females, he was looking at freedom. Now that obviously was from all that propaganda. You gotta think of all the minstrel shows, all the hateful, the projection of what black men were and what black women were. And so now that was the reason why I think he was embraced, is because that kind of twisted idea in such an unnatural situation manifested in the idea he articulated what a lot of black males who were broken inside were feeling. You know what I mean? And
it
not realizing.
It was also stemmed from police brutality. Like a lot of times, those few black men who were interested in white women couldn't be with them. So they'd be out in public and they'll get beat up by white men for being with a white woman, or they'll get harassed by the cops for it. And so a lot of times what would happen is you want something that you can't have. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
Even if you don't,
even if it ain't good for you, you want it.
Even if your heart of hearts,
Even
in your heart of hearts, you may not really want it. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like just the fact that someone said no, you know, and just like, so I said, it's such an unnatural situation. You know, when your mind has kind of been manipulated to view yourself a certain kind of way. So now he's looking at black women like, oh no, that reminds me of you and what you've been through. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, you know, you running from yourself.
And there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with being with a black woman, because now you know you have to be a man to her. You know what I mean?
Oh, elaborate some more for us.
For real. I mean, it's just, you know, dudes that date white girls, they gonna just basically bend over backwards for them. They're gonna allow them to. It's a trip, because there's no social responsibility put on you anymore when you're in an interracial relationship. You know, because she has the privilege, right? She might also be established a lot of times. Even if she's not established, she can at least drive the car for you. So she ain't gonna be the one getting pulled over. You know what I mean? Probably in the back or in the passenger seat, slouched. You know, to where she you know, she's the face of the relationship.
Oh,
you understand what I'm saying? He's not the face of the relationship anymore. So he's escaped a whole lot of social responsibility that he would have had if he was in a black relationship. You know. Anybody else want to elaborate on that? I kind of lost my.
I was totally agreeing with what you're saying. Also, a lot of, as far as the responsibility thing goes, and I'm not saying that sisters don't do this as well, because, you know, but a lot of non-black females, white, whatever, they'll kind of like make it so a lot of black men don't have to do anything. They'll just take care of them, kind of like, you know,
make them lazy,
baby, you know, like whatever, right? You know, kind of like I want to say their pet, but you know, you know what I mean?
Oh wow, that's the way to look.
I'm just saying. I ain't trying to say that's in every.
Right. No,
I got some brothers, you know, some homies I might see like, man, why you say that? Like, I don't mean like that. I'm just saying in every instance, I'm saying that you know, that does happen.
Anything to add?
I mean, I totally agree with what he just said. That's one of the biggest arguments is, you know, I don't date black women because they be tripping on me. You know, like, and when men say tripping on me, they do. They mean they require me to do something with myself. They require me to be better. You know what I mean?
That's
what they don't want to date us. Date other black women.
It's a lot, but you gotta
a lot of other reasons, but
this
that's one.
Yeah, that's
but and it's so sad because society puts so much stress on you already. You know, I used to work in the warehouse, right? When you're working in the warehouse, over time I started to see that there were less black people in the warehouse. There were more other races in the warehouse, specifically probably more Mexicans. And it got to the point to where Mexicans were coming straight from Mexico, could barely speak English, and these were your managers. So you got these stresses on you. I graphic design now. I don't get a lot of work from other races. I just happen to be fortunate enough to have black people deal with. You know, so when you're dealing with all of these stresses, sometimes it breaks you down to the point of where you just give up. You know what I mean? And for somebody to allow you to just give up, it's easier to just fall over there. It might not even necessarily, like he said, it might not even be a love thing. You know what I mean? It might not be a love thing. You're just tired. We're tired as a people with everything we deal with every day.
And then also there's a push for our people to want to be accepted as something other than black.
True.
So when you're in a relationship with someone that's not black, you think you vicariously have a non-black identity while you're with them. I think, I think there's something psychological going on there,
Yeah.
So they've assumed a lesser black identity, and so they hope that they will receive less oppression than what the rest of us receive in that relationship.
And also, let's talk about society. It's like, going back to what he was saying, when they go out in the world, they're dealing with so many stresses. It's kind of like they're getting away from that.
Are they really getting away from it?
No. They that's what they feel. Because it's kind of, you know what I mean?
Psychological.
Because honestly, it's like, if you got, because again, sisters is going through what they're going through. You know what I mean? If the communication is not there, you know what I mean? If the communication is not there.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, right.
I apologize.
I sure did, because I heard it before, and I'm like, I looked right at him, he looked at me smiling, I didn't know it was his phone. I already said, put that thing on silent.
My bad.
But like I'm saying, if the communication is not there, if the knowledge itself ain't there on both parts, y'all, when the black man and black woman get together, they don't really know how to like communicate with each other the way they need to really get that true soothing of from the outside world's pressures. You know what I mean? So it's like you try to get away from that. You think you're getting away from it, really. You're kind of just running.
But it's a catch. There's the catch-22. That's the catch-22 in a situation, because in an interracial relationship, they can't understand what you go through. So how you sit in there struggling alone? It's crazy.
Okay, so you guys brought up social media and the way that black women are portrayed in social media. So do you think it's an accurate representation of black women?
No. But the problem with social media is that one thing can get blown all over the world.
Well, social media, Hollywood,
when you look at it under that lens, through Hollywood and all of that, then there's definitely a concerted effort to portray black women in certain ways, even especially in Tyler Perry movies. People for some reason praise Tyler Perry movies, but man, the way he depicts black women is as if he really don't like them. You understand what I'm saying? Not only himself when he dresses up like one and behaves in the most belligerent manner, you know what I mean, of a black woman. It's like that's a disrespectful. That's a very disrespectful depiction of a black woman. You know what I mean? That's what that is. It's making fun of the black woman, but it's actually been going on for a long time. People sit and laugh at Martin when he played a black woman. What was the
Jamie Foxx.
So it's not just comedy. It's actually dissing the black woman. You understand what I'm saying? That's why would you want to be portrayed? Why would you even want to be attracted to something that looks somewhat like a man? You understand what I'm saying? So all of that is communicating to you psychologically, whether you like it or not. Why would you do grandma like that, which is what Tyler Perry's doing? You understand what I'm saying? So, and then even the women that are actually black women in the movies, they aren't positive black women. You understand what I'm saying? There's always like way out issues. You understand what I'm saying? In his movies. So, there's when you talk about the media, there is the white media, but there's also the black media who cooperates with those ideas to portray us in a negative way, and then we somehow interpret that as if it's positive just because it's on the big screen. That don't make it positive.
I want to add this. I'm not trying to give the other side to it. I'm just gonna
play that. Okay, let's go.
No, I don't believe in playing the devil's enemy. Just the devil's enemy. But one thing he did that was, to add to what he said. You said it gets blown out of proportion. What they're doing is they'll take a negative part, because everybody's got negatives, and they'll take a negative, part of how black women act, and they'll make that the main thing. That's all black women do. They don't show the other type of sisters and show the other. Just like when I hear black men see them on the internet or wherever they are, and they're complaining about black women. It's like, well, what they want to do is they want to go and they try to make sure they kind of hurt black women with other nations, other ethnicities of women. Like, see, this is how you're supposed to be, and see how they are this. But why don't you don't act like you don't see real good black women. Why don't you show them that? That's how you show them the example of something that comes from them. You say, well, you know what I mean? Because they can't relate to that, really. You're just trying to be, trying to strike them. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying is,
if they're trying to give an example of something good, give them a good black woman.
Right. I think so. One thing. Now, there's some negative things, that, kind of, I know brothers go through, man. There's a lot of things they kind of feel trying to be difficult sometimes even for no reason. Sometimes, just want to cause some conflict, when there needs to be, you know, peace in the home or whatever, or peace just in the relationship, or just dealing, you know, day to day. You know, I do understand where some brothers is coming from in that aspect.
Okay.
You know, I mean, their response to it is obviously just something kind of strange, but they're coming from a place. They have some points as well. Not what they're doing is to respond to it is what's not making much sense.
I actually want to add to something both of them said. He was talking about the Tyler Perry image, and I was trying to say, you know, people need to stop taking these images seriously, only due to the fact that people need to stop just watching stuff for face value and actually studying the people who are giving it to. If you understand Tyler Perry's life and him being molested as a child, etc., then you will understand why he depicts us in this way, because he does the black man just as bad as he does the black woman.
Very impressive.
There you go.
That's true. And he would understand where he might have some type of resentment towards black women from his molestation, because he had sat on Oprah's couch and said he had been molested by black women and black men. So, you know, that makes sense.
So you have that aspect, and then as far as what he was talking about black women, I guess you could say sometimes it seems as if they're being argumentative, or you know what I mean. They're acting away for no reason, but it's not. Look at the world we live in.
It's not for no reason.
It's not for no reason. It may manifest in something that seems as if it's no reason, but if you got all these stresses, what do you expect? We do things that are out of character all the time. So how could we not look at our woman and not understand that they're doing exactly what we're doing? It's just coming to us this way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, the black women have attitude.
Yeah,
I like attitude.
One thing I want to what I did want to say was a lot of brothers as well, I guess I could say they feel like a lot of black women try to emasculate them. You know what I mean? And that's not. Let me just say this. I've seen it. I've seen it in certain times. I'm not saying that I'm not like trying to get on black women. I love black women. I only mess with black women, period. I'm not trying to be like, I understand why they're going to this. That's not what I'm saying. Right. What I'm saying is I you know what I mean, to give another side to as the media and how, you know, the things that they're portraying. It's like they're just trying to push that. Like that's the only thing black women are. Black women are so many other things that give us, that really compliment us. And then once you get that communication down between the right black woman and the right black male, then it's everything it's supposed to be, and it's the best of the best. Okay. You know what I mean?
One more thing I would just like to add real quick is, you know, when they show these videos of women twerking in Walmart, right? No, real talk, because she asked, you know, the question. I don't know them. Like, that's not my mom. That's not my mom. That's not my sister. I have never met a woman who would twerk in Walmart. Right. Never. So is it an accurate thing being blown out there, you know, for everyone to see? Is that accurate for black women? The black women I know, they work every day. You understand what I'm saying? They, you know, they dress, you know, themselves in a respectful manner. You know, they conduct themselves in a respectful manner. You know, I've never met someone that will go all the way out like that. Now I grew up in the hood, so I have met people with, you know, certain types of issues because of the conditions that they're up under, but not to that extent. Right. So when you push that out there, it makes it seem like, oh, this is what they are. You understand what I'm saying? And so, you know, it's not an accurate description in the media of black women. Even when you look at statistics of professional black women, you know what I mean?
Right. They don't show that either. They don't show.
Right. Yeah. So,
or even college graduates.
Yeah.
Black women, black. Yeah.
So how is that accurate? You know,
and all the sisters who didn't held brothers down through some of the most like heinous things, just been there just all the way to the end. You know what I'm saying? They don't show that. You know, and I think that's on purpose.
What suggestions do you have for black women who think that black men have pretty much given up on them as far as dating, marriage?
That's not true. I mean, brothers. I mean, and even if they're kind of giving into a little propaganda themselves, because if you go somewhere that there's brothers trying to holler at you, they may not be the right type of brother. You know, he may not be as handsome as you like. But you know, in a lot of cases, but there are, you know, brothers is out there, and they you know, there's lots of brothers who are looking for black women, you know, of all different sorts, you know, all different types and whatnot. It's just you gotta be a little more open, a little more willing to receive it. You know what I mean?
And I would say just know yourself in terms of who you are, what you are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Be confident in that, because we still are attracted to confidence. You know what I mean? Okay. A lot of times, you know. So I mean, the only people that are attracted to people who aren't confident or have those type of lack of self-esteem are the people who want to abuse that lack of self-esteem. You know, those are the people that are attracted to that. So when they see a lack of self-esteem, they go for it. You know what I mean? But you know, good men are attracted to confident black women, women who love themselves, women who carry themselves confidently, and so my suggestion would be that you will attract the right type of man when you have those, when you exude those type of qualities. You know what I mean? And just work on it, because we live in a society that's aimed at destroying your confidence and your self-love and your self-esteem. So you got to make a conscientious effort to remove that from yourself and to actually, you know, present yourself in a more confident manner and to actually live that confidence, you know. And so when you have that, you're gonna attract a good black man, because good black men are attracted to that, you know.
I think they hit the nail on the head. The only thing I want to add to it is based on what he said, talking about confidence. I think it's more than just confidence. I think black women got to understand that as a race of people, we in turmoil. Due to our lack of identity, not understanding that we are African people. And it don't matter where you take a horse is still a horse. You know, if we were to all push for each other to know who we are, I think that we'd be better off. You know what I mean? I think we won't even have these issues, because you'd be prideful when you understand the kingdoms and stuff that we had prior to slavery and the things that we did even after. You know, I think that's the best advice. If you feel like the men around you don't have an issue with you, then we need to start teaching these men who they are, and also with the whole confidence thing, just in any relationship, a knowledge of self is key, period, as far as not just a knowledge of where you come from, but a knowledge of yourself. What do you like? Be sure of everything, so when you go into a relationship, you understand what you're lacking, what you need, and what you have to offer, how you can build the other person up. And I feel like once that's established, I feel like it won't be no problem.
Okay. All right. The very last question is, if you guys have children or one child, whatever, and if you do, what are you guys going to tell them about interracial dating?
Well, I got 3 kids.
All right.
I got 3 kids. I got 2 girls and a boy. And to be honest, my biggest things to them is first, love yourself and date someone who can relate to you. That's what I'm gonna teach them. You can't date someone outside your race, because they never be able to relate. You might both like art, but your everyday struggle is not their everyday struggle. And if you really love yourself, like he said, you're gonna want your kids to resemble you.
And they can't compliment what you bring to this world as a black person. Someone that's not black cannot compliment what you bring into this world. You got to think about that. I'm not even going to explain what that means. Just think about what I just said, because that's the truth, you know. I know I don't have any children yet. I want some. I want a bunch of them, really, you know. I want them all to look like me. You know? I want to see my reflection in my children, you know. And I would definitely see, this is the thing. A lot of times we have this problem with telling our children the truth about the world that they're living in, you know, the reality of the world they live in, that we are under an assault, you know, as a people, and how to navigate that and properly navigate that. But one of the best ways to do that is to have a black family as a people, because if you're under attack as a people, separating yourself, you know, is not that fist. You're separated, so you don't have that same power, you know. So I would definitely put it into my children to love themselves, to love their people, and to love what I just blessed you with, because I gave you these beautiful genes, and you better carry them, you know, to the next baby that you have, you know. Don't go water it down with Kim Kardashian. You know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
no, I gave you this beauty. I want you to, you know, love what I gave you, you know, and then carry that on. So,
I'll say, I'm gonna just say, you know what? There's a bunch of things I'm gonna be, you know, teaching them about what they need and what they don't need or what they don't want. And I'm gonna be showing them with different things. And so that when I let them know, like, look, you don't need that, you don't want that, it's already going to be understood. Like, I know that's true, because I was showing and proving them the things that they don't need, they don't want. And we already, like we were saying, like we was all saying, like, we've been blessed with the best. We just want to re-bless every next generation and maintain that beauty, because that strength of when all black people are together just in one room is already such a powerful essence that just cannot be copied. It can't be duplicated or imitated. Nothing when you got all black people together, and you want to keep on maintaining that.
All right. Well, thank you, brothers, very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
We'll see you in the next video.